Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of GeekOut. I am your host, Eric Agar, and today I'm joined by some pretty awesome and great guests who I will let them introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Liam, also with GeekWave, just here to hang out, enjoy the vibes.
My name is Helen. I work at Space Station Gaming.
I'm also Liam, not with
Yeah.
GeekWave. I work for Airlock, which is a broadcast and events branch of Space Station as a whole.
Awesome. Can you guys tell me more about what is Space Station Gaming? What is Space Station? And also what is Airlock? Just in any order you guys want.
Space Station Gaming is a professional esports organization under the umbrella of the Space Station. And we're in a couple of different titles. We've got a couple of different teams and multiple wins and championships. So,
yeah. Airlock is a white label broadcast and events company, and we serve internally the Space Station Gaming, as well as taking on external clients. We've worked with Twitch through our past PAX. Just came back from TwitchCon working with a booth there, doing some fun content creation. And we also get the cool chance to operate Halo Championship Series every time there's an event in Salt Lake. That's usually Airlock organizing and making sure that that's trucking along. And the Space Station as a whole, I would say, is a multimedia company that focuses on YouTube content creation. So Sean Duras, the man himself, pioneered Snapchat content creation and then pivoted to YouTube and kind of just went crazy. We have just about everything underneath the sun. So we've got, full-blown creative departments. We've got merch sourcing, cut and sew level, not just designing merch. We've got consumer packaged goods departments. We've got an investment firm. We've got a company that harvests methane gas off of landfills and mines Bitcoin with it. We've got an animation studio. We have an investment firm. There's everything under the sun is the Space Station. And it's kind of like working in a modern YouTube Disney.
Nice. Kind of jack of all trades and masters of it too. You mentioned that Halo event. Really fun, by the way, was there. Congratulations on the win in that and the World Championship.
thank you.
I would neither confirm nor deny some of my teammates. We were in our own series as well. They may have been sidetracked watching the grand finals. I may or may not have gotten slightly mad at them while watching the grand finals as well at the same time, but I'm neither here to confirm nor deny that.
You can either confirm or deny that you were watching the stream while also competing at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. We finished Mat 1 and one of my teams is like, yo, dude, they're going to game 6. I was like, focus our own series, man. What are you doing? Come on. But no, it's all good. Yeah, congratulations on that and the win in Apex as well. I was going to also ask, how did SSG start? But you kind of answered that question. But if there's any more you would like to go into depth about, feel free.
Yeah. So on Sean Duras's path to creating his content empire, he pulled a bunch of high school friends who still work on Space Station Gaming. Pookie, what a legend. Chicken was picked up as a friend of a brother. It was wild anyway, but or a brother of a friend. And they decided to start a YouTube channel called Maximum Salt out of Sean's basement. And they shotgun spent an entire brand deal's worth of money on just creating this Corridor Digital-esque multi-camera POV streaming station in the basement. And their goal was to blow this Twitch channel up and just be these crazy streamers with this innovative camera switching. And ultimately that didn't work out. But out of Maximum Salt came okay, esports definitely has a future. Let's commit to doing something. And that's kind of as the Space Station formed, Space Station Gaming was definitely one of the core pillars. And Pookie, Chicken, and Sean kind of committed to making this a thing. And here we are, 7, 8, somewhere
7
around
years.
here.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen just a lot of esports. You've been just kind of grow and develop, and you've been there, maybe not from the very start, but pretty early on.
Yeah, Space Station Gaming has always been there from a pretty early age, dating all the way back to when Splice was really big. Space Station was around still, but definitely not as a larger org. Space Station has always set out to blaze their own path, and that's not always the most popular one. They always like to take it the way that they feel is best, and it's worked out really well for them. So while Splice and all them were investing a whole ton of money into things that eventually didn't pan out, Space Station was kind of laying it low and just doing what they do best, which is this like really community driven, really saucy brand that kind of just thrives through all the chaos.
Nice. Just kind of doing your own thing. I love it. Love that name, Maximum Salt, by the way. That's awesome. Well, that's kind of me some of the time. Just like, how'd I die? What? Yeah. Pure salt.
That's definitely what it was.
Oh yeah.
Lots of yelling in a basement.
Oh yeah, my favorite. Sounds like half of our team
Yeah.
comms all the time. They could never mic us up.
That's the OG gamer experience. Is just yelling at your monitor at what 2 a.m.
Yeah, there's like two things that'll like make me the most salty. It's like either playing like in league or something, and just complaining at everyone, or driving. It's one of the two. Those are the two things.
I'm in that same boat. I'm in that same boat.
You got the right. When you're at the light, go. It's green. Come on, do it.
Don't have to stop.
I will say on my drive here, it's like, can we please just pick one speed and then just at least stick to that, and everyone else get out of the left lane? That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
It is Utah though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, going back to the some of the questions that we had. You mentioned like Airlock running the event, like the HCS Salt Lake ones. I believe both of them, both the Invitational and the Major. That was that was like a month ago. It's
Yep.
crazy to think about.
Time flies.
Yeah, I was kind of curious, like what goes into planning an event like that, and like logistic wise, and like size wise.
Too much. At its core, Airlock is like a group of 3 full-time employees. We're not a lot of people, but it's great that we have a lot of other crews and departments to lean on at the space station. I think it was running the numbers. It was like thousands of hours went into just the Major. Like Airlock's role in all of that is a lot of publisher relations. So we're taking a lot of meetings with Microsoft and 343, now Halo Studios, and just ensuring that what they need from this event as like obviously an invested partner and someone who's kind of footing the bill for this. So we're taking care of what they need and also coordinating with like Space Station Gaming and making sure that their visions match what they want to see at this event. And our goal for Airlock in these events is always to make sure that it's as easy as possible for Space Station Gaming and other Space Station crews to activate at this event, but also for like Sean to be able to bring his family to these events and film content there. Like that's always a big priority too. So there's a lot of considerations that go into it, like planning out power, finding venues, talking with AVL partners. There were, Airlock, Space Station Gaming, Loadout did our broadcast. A local company named Taylor AVE did AVL and LEDs in our stage. There was Pinkbird Pro who did like vibe lighting around the venue. There was Esports Engine who did tournament operations. So there's a lot of vendors that touch that event, and Airlock is kind of like I don't want to say a project management team, but at its core, we're kind of like 3 producers and event organizers that help make sure that everything stays on track and that it becomes a reality.
Okay, nice. So, basically, just making sure that it's the best of both worlds, and everyone gets a certain degree of everything they want.
Yeah, and sometimes that's pretty difficult because you got to balance budgets versus wishes versus brand, and that is a pretty messy endeavor sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys did a great job. So good job on that.
It did look amazing.
Yeah, we always try to bring the sauce. That's why I love doing events and broadcasts at the space station, is because you could go work elsewhere and do like events and broadcast, and it'll be like a super stale templatized thing. And at the space station and Airlock, we get to work with a lot of really great creators and different companies that just say, fuck it, we ball. And we kind of just do what we want. And last year at the Invitational, like no one had really run a Halo event of that size out of like an abandoned retail space and an old rock hall. So it was like definitely shook up how a lot of people view events. And that's what we're here at the end of the day, is to like make people think about what events and broadcasts could be instead of what it is now.
Okay, nice. Not gonna lie, I love those like really rugged ones. Like the traditional LAN party. You got the giant TV, the split screen Xbox. You kill your friend with a snipe. You go up and yell at him how much he sucks.
Exactly, and that's what we try to like replicate a lot of the times. Like the Invitational last year, I don't know if you went, but our expo space was quite literally in an abandoned retail space. Like we rented a space in the Gateway Mall that was abandoned. The AC was leaking into the venue. There was no power. We brought in an industrial generator to run all the PCs and stuff. Like it was kind of as scrappy as you can get.
It adds to the character, though.
Oh yeah,
it adds
definitely.
to the character,
especially
and the
because it was branded as like an underground kind of graffiti vibe. It worked out really well, but it was a little bit of intentionality. But
yeah, I love that depot main stage. Like I was telling people, you guys went there for a concert. I went there to watch people play Halo. We are not the same. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And kind of talking about like that job at Airlock and Space Station and some of these events, I was kind of curious, what other jobs exist in an esports organization besides, of course, being a professional player or a streamer or content creator, stuff like that?
For at least Space Station Gaming, a lot of our crew is wearing a lot of different hats. And so, to be honest, when I was hired, I had asked them, I was like, so like for my LinkedIn and like to tell my mom what's my job title, and they were like, I don't know, pick one, because you're not going to be doing like the set thing every single time. You're going to be needed here or doing this. And so there's a lot of jobs that you do and a lot of tasks that you do in different areas, kind of all working together to make things happen. And so some of the jobs is like doing what Liam does, then all of what Liam does, and Sam as well, who also works with Liam at Airlock. But we have people we have Zach, who's an editor. He's fantastic at it. We have our main film guy, which is mostly Blake, and that's kind of the dynamic duo for a lot of the stuff that SSG pumps out. But it's not really like there are a lot of jobs outside of just competing or being like a big streamer. It's just it's not going to just be that one job.
Yeah. Especially in esports, jobs are very flexible and you have to wear a lot of hats. Like most esports companies operate as very early stage startups where just because my title is director of broadcast and events, it doesn't mean that I'm not driving a van to an event and serving as like a trucker almost. So most esports orgs usually have a content team that's, very heavily what Space Station focuses on. A lot of our crews focus on content and social media. So obviously those are big touch points for esports orgs as a medium, especially for the generation that enjoys our industry. So a lot of orgs are going to be focused on content and partnerships. That's kind of the main pathway that a lot of esports orgs take for revenue. So you'll usually have a team that's doing like cold calls, sales, inbound to outbound kind of things. You have partnerships. Obviously, you have all of the work that goes into managing teams, coaching teams. Some teams even go as far as hiring individual like chefs for teams. You have people who manage travel. You have people who manage visa applications and contracts. You have people who are thinking about social media strategy. You have people that are designing merch. You have people that are literally making the Twitter posts. You have people that are scheduling the Twitter posts. It goes a lot. And like at Space Station Gaming especially, just because I listed, 4 or 5 things, it could all be one person wearing that hat. So it really depends on which esports team you're talking to, because all of them kind of have their own take on what esports is and how it becomes viable. But at the end of the day, like the core is operations, partnerships/sales, and then your social media and content.
Okay, gotcha. I was really curious about that because, like, we were talking about it earlier. It's like, I'm not that great as a player, like an esports player, or like I'm not good enough to go pro. Is there still a way I could be involved with the esports organization to some degree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's like a really common graphic that always goes around in these talks where it's like, think about all of the jobs you can find elsewhere. A lot of those jobs apply to esports. Like it's an industry like any other industry, and there's a lot that goes into it. Like even on the event and broadcast side of things, if I do a broadcast that's just like an Overwatch stream that you would see for Overwatch League, that's still like 13 people I hire to work on that one broadcast. Like there's an immense amount of work that goes into that, and like across the board through the whole industry, there's hundreds of different kinds of jobs.
Is there I know when you were talking about all the roles you talk about, there's like chefs and everything too, just because of how big productions are, people got to eat. Is there any thing I was that most kind of unexpected kind of role or thing that kind of came that Space Station Gaming or just esports teams have that you just wouldn't have expected until you're in it?
I think for me, I can't answer for all orgs, obviously, because there's a certain level of secrecy that everyone maintains. I always enjoy finding out that certain esports orgs have chefs. That's always so cool to me because it shows that there's a certain level of care for their rosters. Literally, there was just a YouTube video that went kind of viral about the chef that cooks for T1 in Korea. But at least at the space station, the least suspecting one, and technically he's not on the space station crew or the Space Station Gaming crew. He works on other parts. parts. But we have a guy who we call the Metal Man. His name is Scott. He's
Love
like
Scott.
Yeah, living legend. Like the dude lives in a converted school bus, and he just builds whatever the space station needs. So like if Space Station Gaming needs like a set for content, they're like, Scott, like in 2 days we need a whole like drive-through fabricated. Scott says, hey, no problem. And Scott just builds the damn thing.
Which we've had to do in the past. For our, I think it was our touch grass, we needed like 4 walls to make it look like a bedroom. It needed to have like a window, a shelf to like put some stuff in. And I think we needed it like, I think it was an overnight job that we needed it. And so it was just like, okay, we got to go to Scott. That guy had it done by the morning. So big Scott fan over here.
Yeah, Scott actually, and you were there, those desks that were on the stage in the depot for the Global Invitational, Scott made those desks, like from scratch. We were like, hey, we have this crazy idea for a desk. And I said, all right, no problem. Desks just show up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really like almost anything could be useful.
Yeah, so
You can
you'd
do
never
anything.
suspect.
You
Like
can
a
build anything.
handyman. It just exists.
You think we can maybe get him to do something for Geekwood?
We can put in a good word for you guys. Yeah.
Well, we'll check with our directors and staff, make sure it's all right.
Yeah. Your people talk to our people. Yeah.
We'll get the connection going, get the talks going, stuff like that. Good old business. Yeah. So kind of going back to, we talked briefly about earlier with like talking about setting up the major and those kind of logistics. A lot of organizations in esports have a heavy emphasis on content. Why is that? And do you guys personally agree with it? And why? We kind of already went over it earlier, but I was wondering if there's a deeper meaning behind like why content's so big. Like you see many esports orgs, they really focus on content. They make their players do it, and they're really focused on making the content big. And then there are others that are just focused on competing in tournaments and selling merch. And I was wondering what your guys' thoughts were on that.
I do agree on focusing on the content because I think that really brings the org to the community that it fosters, and you get kind of more of a relationship to them in that way where they see like, yeah, okay, so for example, like I play Halo, I love Halo, and I'm really into like watching the professional scene, and then I find out that there's this org where I can see like these guys who play this game so well, and they do like this really cool interview, and then you're like, I know more about them, and I can relate to them way more than I could have than if I didn't know anything about them, or see all these cool stuff that SSG is doing otherwise. And so I think that really kind of bridges the gap between org to community that makes it more personable in that way. So I completely agree with focusing on the content side of it, just because it's so essential to foster that healthy relationship between the two and be that bridge.
Yeah, I definitely, like from a brand perspective, I agree wholeheartedly with what Helen said. But for a lot of people too, content can be a path to financial stability.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it's no stranger to anyone listening how volatile esports can be as an industry. I mean, this year alone, think about how many people have been laid off. And so a lot of orgs put a lot of effort into that content as a way to bolster their numbers that they can present to sponsors and investors. Having like a brand reach is incredibly important. No sponsor wants to get involved with someone who is like reaching 5 people, right? Like there's not a lot of value in that. You want eyeballs on your brands. So content is definitely a digestible way for our generation to be reached. Mm-hmm. So people focus on content also as a way to be financially viable. Think about how many esports orgs, I think NRG for a while had a guy on retainer that was like completely revolutionizing how NRG approached content, especially on YouTube. And it paid out dividends. Like that channel was making money. I mean, think about the space station and everything I described earlier. That's funded by YouTube channels. So like a similar approach is obviously esports orgs trying to get their share of that YouTube revenue by creating content and making sure that not only they're getting money from YouTube, but sponsors are paying them to make this content too.
Gotcha. So kind of like you said earlier, Helen, kind of strengthening the community, but also as you said, Liam, for financial purposes, to keep the lights on in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Imagine it. You probably get like most eyes and such during the tournaments and events, but then having that content in between helps kind of like level out income from sponsors and such, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think esports is like interesting too because it's not like football players where they're like very legacied and sure, you see some content with football players, right? But for esports, it's such a different medium, and the generation that consumes esports is largely at home. Like it's largely screen time compared to football, where you're going to a stadium to watch these players. And so it kind of fills that gap that you see compared to traditional esports, which is a very often, comparison for esports versus traditional sports. So it helps bridge a lot of gaps you would kind of see to foster brand and connection with players.
Gotcha. Speaking of like on the topic of players, and you mentioned the unfortunate layoffs earlier, I was wondering and curious, how many esports or like different games should an org be in, like around, like how many is too many, how many is too few, and how do you strike a balance of how many teams you have, how many players, how many scenes you're in? Because I mean, we've seen recently organizations like Optic Gaming and Sentinels are only now in 2 esports, and then you saw like recently Cloud9 just got into Call of Duty. You Space Station Gaming, you guys just recently picked up an Overwatch team, or like fairly recently. So I was kind of curious, how many is too few and how many is too many, and how you strike that balance of we should be in this scene and we shouldn't be in this one for various reasons.
I think a big part of that comes down to manpower. If we have like enough people that can put on multiple hats to be in these titles, because if you can't support them at home, then you can't really support them at all. So I think an aspect of that question is just manpower and how much time we have, how many people we have to be able to support it in a good and healthy way. But also, like, kind of going back to what Liam said, like, can we financially support it as well? What do the contracts look like within this game or this game? How much are players typically asking for? How much would a roster cost? What does the league look like? Are there stipends available from the developers of the game? So I think all of that kind of goes in, that you kind of have to look at the numbers, but also, do people even watch the game? How many people care about this game? Is it falling off? Is it dying? So a lot of those numbers we care about as well, not only just internally, but also how the world sees that game.
Yeah, I mean, Helen nailed it. Like it's definitely like a internal wish. I know that we've gotten into certain titles just based on like a wish to be there, right? That's like something that the crew loves, the rest of the space station loves. Like we have a Brawl Stars roster, which is something that like not a lot of people are like, okay, what the heck? Brawl Stars. Okay. We have a Brawl Stars roster just because it's been like a long-term thing that the space station has loved so much. And Sean especially loves Brawl Stars. We've hosted like literally internal events at the space station for Brawl Stars where we've like shot off sparklers that hit the ceiling kind of thing. Like it's been crazy, like the involvement and the love for Brawl Stars. So having a roster like that, it's a very low financial lift, so it's very viable for us to do, but it's also like an internal wish to support that scene and be involved in it. So there's definitely brand aspect, and obviously financials is like the biggest thing. For Space Station, it's very different because we don't have, like media groups that own portions of Space Station. Space Station is very much like a homegrown org. And the answer may be different for orgs who have VC investment, because those VC investors might be looking for those rosters in certain titles. It really depends on the circumstances of the org, but probably right now more than ever, financials are the biggest thing. I mean, you look at when Esports World Cup announced their stipend program, think about how many rosters were picked up leading up to EWC, and think about how many rosters were dropped after EWC. There's definitely a cyclical nature to esports and how they pick up and drop players. It works somewhat akin to like football players, like they're 1099 contractors. You're either dropping them at will, picking them up at will, or you're trading those contracts to other orgs, or selling those contracts to other orgs, buying them from other orgs. So it really depends on the financials, and when there are stipend programs around, obviously the financial stability of it all matters. I think we're in the middle of like a pretty big correction in a lot of scenes for esports player salaries. They definitely got pretty up there for a while.
And greedy.
That was,
yeah. They're a little greedy.
And that definitely affected like how many rosters teams have. When you think about like Optic, right, it definitely makes sense for them to be in larger scenes because their brand is larger and more storied, and they can afford those rosters. But it's probably pretty smart for them to just stay in their lane with those two games that they do really well and their community really supports because it's storied. It doesn't make sense for Optic Gaming to pick up a Brawl Stars roster. Like,
not at all.
It's probably pennies in the bucket for them, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't fit with their brand, and it also doesn't make sense financially for them.
It would be funny though, I will say.
It would, yeah.
I remember seeing on Twitter like, you got the Space Station Gaming. I was like, yeah, we got Brawl Stars team. And I was like, huh, wasn't expecting that, but that's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool to hear though, because I was really curious about that because when the team gets let go, dropped, or an organization enters a new esport, people are like, people start speculating, were they dropped because they weren't performing well? Were they dropped due to financials? Or were they picked up because there's a lot of because the scene is booming, it's a fresh new game. So I was a little bit curious about that. So thank you for kind of explaining that. Appreciate it. I don't know if you have any questions. I feel like I've been yapping way too much.
Yeah, no, one thing I was just thinking of as we were talking about with like picking up teams and like what scenes to be in, I guess, do you have any thoughts? So I know like Blizzard famously, so they have like Overwatch League and they had like the, Heroes Global Championship, I think, for like their Heroes of the Storm. But they were like really trying to be like, we own the scene, we're running the scene, and then you guys all come to us. And like, I guess, do you think a setup like that is good, or is it better when it's like community made for the esports scene?
I have big opinions here.
I want to hear everyone.
I think that right now it's interesting, right? I'll use the traditional sports versus esports comparison again. No, who owns the license to football? You know what I mean? Like, no one owns the license to football. Someone definitely owns the license to Heroes of the Storm. Like, that's a protected IP of a company who could sue you into the ground if you misuse that IP. And so that's an interesting dilemma that esports faces, especially around competition, right? Think about how many events lower prize pool or don't do events at all because you have to meet certain guidelines and approvals with these publishers. So a lot of power lies in the publisher's hands. So it's very easy for someone, a publisher to be like, okay, teams, you're going to come to me. Financially, like we've talked about, in the viability of an esports team, it doesn't make sense to go to a publisher and say, I'm going to pay you $25 million to participate in your 8-team league, and the chance that I make some revenue share back with whatever the agreement looks like, with whatever the merch looks like, because it's been proven to be somewhat okay, but not ultimately sustainable. You think about the CDL was like one of the largest leagues to ever go to a franchise model. And we're seeing that kind of evaporate. The Challengers League died really hard. I mean, you see that clowned on Twitter, literally like 4 stations in the lobby of a venue is your Challengers League. Like, what makes esports is not the game. What makes traditional sports is the game. What makes esports is the community that's involved in it. And so when you close off your scene and require these esports teams to put in substantial financial contribution to be participating in that league, you have to be able to prove that it's sustainable. And I don't think anyone has gotten the formula quite right enough to prove that it's worth a lot of esports time, like esports teams' time. I think that like CDL, LCS have definitely gotten close, but we still see those gripes pretty often, especially on Twitter when CEOs have to drop rosters or leave scenes. You get a lot of that insight on, the financials and the decision making that go behind it. And it's unfortunate that like so much power does lie in the publisher's hands. And I say that like half meaning it because I work with publishers for events. I understand it, right? And at the end of the day, like SLC HCS would not have happened without a publisher. So despite all of that, I think the community still makes esports. And it doesn't make sense for these publishers to be mandating these large multi-million-dollar buy-ins for these leagues when they can't promise that they'll make that money back. You look at the NFL and how much you can make off of players, how much you can make off of merch. I think the scene is too young for those multi-million-dollar franchise things. And I think we're seeing a correction back to the community right now where it's DreamHack-style events. Everyone from multiple titles are getting involved. You look at Esports World Cup and how many titles they had across the board. Granted, they were not necessarily open tournaments. You could qualify into them, but that's a whole process, and EWC is a whole different topic. But corrections back to DreamHack-style tournaments, MLG-style tournaments, where it's just you and your squad pulling up and trying to climb the ladder with these points is definitely a correction we're seeing in the community right now. And I think overall, for where esports is at, makes more sense.
I completely agree, yeah, with everything. I got no notes. Yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do it with these.
I guess, one more question, and I'll pass it back to you. But, so I'm coming from, with esports, where kind of just like a casual enjoyer and such. And one thing that's been hard for me is like, if I'm trying to get into like a new like esport to watch, and there's just like a lot to learn, whether it's like, just how the game works, who the players are, the tournament structure. I guess, do you have any advice for people who are interested in watching more esports, but just just don't know where to start?
Get a friend who plays the game. And honestly, there you go. Because honestly, that might be the most fun anyway, because you're just hanging out with your friend. But honestly, I think, and I kind of had to go through this with my dad, who doesn't, he's a football guy. So he's watching football, and I had to try and explain everything that goes into like a game of Apex, but there's so much happening all at once, all of the time in those games, that it's kind of like, this is, and you're old, so this is gonna be hard. And so, but I think honestly, the casters that they get for these games do a phenomenal job at explaining a lot of these terms, because each game has their very own niche gamer terms that are very specific to just that community. That, like, there are some R6 terms that I don't know, because I'm not in that community as much as I am in Apex, right? And so I think casters do a phenomenal job of trying to bring that understanding to the casuals, because the casuals are super, super integral to esports as a whole, because that's, like Liam said earlier, that's the community that esports depends on and thrives on. So I think getting some like at Worlds and at the HCS Major, the casters were absolutely amazing, and even my dad had said, hey, I understood everything. They did a really good job. So maybe, yeah. The casters, I think, are so integral to that.
Yeah, that was going to be like my point too, is casters make or break a broadcast in terms of like what is digestible for like an everyday person. And if you're someone that wants to get into watching esports, one, I say this, no matter what the medium is that you're consuming for media, just lower your expectations off the bat. I go to the movie theater, no expectations, blast every time. Lower your expectations, because a lot of people look at football where it's like very digestible. Ball passes, you get to end zone, you score, cool. Mm-hmm. Esports is a million APM, like people are clicking buttons and doing movement tech. Don't worry too much about understanding the bulk of it, right? You're understanding like the teams, you're understanding the endpoints of different game modes and stuff. And I'd say really stick to like one genre or one game and find a watch buddy. It's okay to ask questions. Like, honestly, if you were a brand new esports person and you wanted to go to an event, I would say just shotgun it. Like, even if you're going alone, the amount of friends that you can make at an event is crazy. Like, the first time I ever went to a DreamHack and I watched an esports on a stage, my life literally changed. Like, I was like, holy shit, this is a thing. And like going to events and just getting to interact with other people who understand will shed light on a lot of things, just like everything else in life. Talk to people who have the experience, but also just enjoy it for what it is. And sometimes it is chaotic, fast, and undigestible. But that's what esports can be sometimes. Like you look at Dota, you look at StarCraft, those guys are cracked. I don't understand anything, but I can enjoy it because I understand that it's crazy that they're doing all that stuff.
Great. No, thanks. So I feel like, get a friend. We got a friend. Focus on big picture and just go for it. Kind of sum it up.
Get some snacks, throw it on the TV. Even if you're not watching something that's going on, go watch a VOD. Like most of these, like, Rocket League has their own Twitch channel. Just go on the Rocket League Twitch channel and watch something.
Also use some grand finals, but like I had a HCS Fort Worth last year watch party for the grand finals, and the room went crazy. Everyone's holding their breath, and like you had the reset going up to the very end. Everyone's like about to lose it, and we may or may not have gotten a noise complaint.
Oh, really?
But going back into what you were talking about, like getting into a scene, the way I actually got into Halo Esports was I was just randomly sitting down like on Twitch one day, and I saw Halo 5. Championship series, or the Halo Championship Series Halo 5 tournament, I'll watch it. And then the first player they showed, I was like, yo, that guy seems cracked, pretty good at the game, seems cool. I'm gonna look up his stuff, start watching his thing, start following his org, and then that's how I got into Halo, and then I got into some other esports as well, because that same org was a part of so many other esports at the time. And then look at me now.
Look at you now.
It went all downhill. No, I'm kidding. I just went, So just branch out. It definitely helps to check out a game that you're interested in, that you're passionate about, that you love to play, and then just like see what tournaments are going on, see what players are doing. Attached to a player, attached to an org, attached to a team, and then you'll just kind of like go wild from there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Check out a bunch of stuff if you want. Saying one esport, it's fine. It's up to you. There's no, in my opinion, there's no proper way to watch esports or enjoy the content. Just sit down, have fun.
Good take.
Mm-hmm.
Good take.
We'll have to make some plans after this.
Oh yeah, I got you. I'll get everyone at Geek Wave too. We'll rewatch HCS Raleigh, the kickoff major, the whole thing.
There we go.
So a little bit more of a fun question. I think I already know a few of the answers, but what are your guys' favorite esports moments or esport moment?
Oh, this one happened pretty recently, but it was because I'm an Apex player. I'm all about Apex. I love that game, and I hate that game. If you're a gamer, you know what I'm talking about. It's a great game, but it sucks. But I was able to go to the ALGS in Los Angeles. And there was just this moment. It was my very first in-person esports event that I had ever really gone to. And there was this moment where this player, they were not assigned to org. They were just 3 dudes that were like, hey, we're pretty good. Let's give it the good old college try. And his name was Nasky, and he got so hyped. He got 2 kills, got so hyped. He got out of his chair. The game's still happening, mind you. It's ring 4 or 5. He gets out of his chair, he looks at the crowd and just waves his hand in the air. He wants the cheers. He's interacting with the crowd. He's going so hyped, and his other 2 teammates are like, bro, sit down. The game is still going on. I need you to sit down and calm down. So, and the crowd did go wild. The guy next to me, he's screaming, I'm screaming. And so I think it was just that, being there in the moment live. It was just, that's just a special one in my heart, because I was also able to go with my university Apex team as well. So all of us got to go out there, and so that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. If I had to say one personally, it was definitely the Global Invitational. I grew up on Halo. That was my first video game. And it was pretty much the only video game. I played Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 4, Halo 5, and that's all I played. I dipped my toes into COD, and that was about it. So I'm a hardcore Halo fan, and finally getting to work on Halo Championship Series, the Global Invitational last year for SSG. I wasn't even an employee at the time. I was a contractor. They just brought me in to help project manage things. And getting to be in the venue when they won that event, I think is something I'll always remember. On the verge of choking back tears, and I'm like, oh God, the merch booth is going to be packed. I have to go back to the expo space and taking this underground tunnel back to this abandoned retail space, trying not to cry because it's so cool. And I'm like, I'm going to miss the crew photo that's going to happen on stage with the trophy, but that's fine. But it was just a surreal moment to be involved in so many communities and games that you love. But the broader fan in me, for other esports, I'm a pretty big fighting game guy, specifically Tekken. And so getting to watch Arslan Ash complete his Tekken 7 run by completing, Evo, Combo Breaker, and just winning all these big tournaments on top of winning the Tekken World Tour right before Tekken 8 came out, I think is super iconic. And what Arslan Ash did to revolutionize the Tekken pro scene is pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Tekken. My roommate plays Tekken if you want to 1v1 him sometime.
I'm horrible. I haven't touched a controller in 3 months.
Or you can 1v1. My buddy that's on the R6 team, he played against him yesterday. Huge trash talk going up into that. A lot of trash talking. I was the messenger a few times. They played after Capstone, and my roommate beat him 23 times in a row. So you can pick who you want to go against. Yeah.
Hey, don't square up with me on the FPS games. A few of the U students learned that at HCS. I went to the little combat workshop we had, walked away 3-0. No one beat me. I'm just saying, hey, I wasn't even playing on mouse and keyboard. I picked up a controller. Wasn't even playing on my preferred input.
I might have to 1v1 you in Halo.
Hey, just like I told AJ, Minty Mango, he talked crap. I founded the league he plays in. Just don't talk crap to me.
All right. I'll follow in my peers' footsteps. I'll just keep my mouth shut. Evo is fun though. Tekken. I have a lot of friends that compete in Evo, watch Evo, and yeah, it's an interesting scene. And you were talking about the trash talking too. It reminds me of the Gears of War scene, which for people who don't know, they are rowdy.
Oh yeah.
They get really loud. And some of the things they say, you can't really repeat them.
Yeah. That's kind of a gamble, I think, I think especially you guys get it for university teams and they're streaming and you're like, please don't say anything that will get us canceled. Please know that you represent the school. And I think a lot of players who play video games, and it's also oh man, some of this stuff should not be recorded.
But I love seeing players in the CDL, Optic Pro bread, he's just yelling. He's been screaming at people after the match.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, real quick, I would just say my favorite esports moment as well, if you don't mind, because Liam, it's similar to yours, was actually that global invitational. First esports event I ever attended. So I was really hyped. It was super cool to see all these players that you see on the screen, like, wow, they're right there. And for me, I was like, wow, I'm taller than all of them. But still, like, it's so cool to see them. And actually, one of my favorite moments was I got to see Frosty, who was the first player I ever saw when he was back on Optic. That was the first player I saw. So I saw him and was like, oh my God, it's him. I got to go talk to him, man. I don't get stage fright often, but oh man, was I stuttering. But it's really cool. And like, you get to talk to these people and everyone's really chill at the events. Like, you're all cracking jokes and stuff. And it's like, wow, these people that like, maybe only seen once online, never all. And it's like, we're all like a nice little community. We all get to hang out, have fun, share some laughs. And yeah, it's really cool. So, man, we gotta take you sometime.
Yeah. So there's one esport that I do watch right now. I'm interested in getting into more, but no. So I've like born and bred on World of Warcraft, and so every like once or twice a year they have their race to world first, and that's like just my nerd Super Bowl.
A good one.
Like a marathon like goes on for like 2 weeks, and you just like watch all the players, so they're getting like more and more tired. But no, I think like my favorite moment, they just had race to world first that wrapped up a month ago, something like that now. But I just like love with I guess just some context, it's like 20 people just trying to beat like these like hardest bosses as possible. They're like barely even tested. The developers aren't good enough to beat it. So it's like, here you go, world's best players. Let's see if you can do it. And the moment when I'm like watching the final form, like get to where I'm like, okay, this is a phase. I can predict what's happening. Oh, wait, make sure you interrupt those spells. Now you need to position over here to avoid. And like when you kind of just like get in the zone with the game and just like watching along with it, that's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe we'll take you to one of those events. Hopefully when you meet the players, you'll get starstruck like I did.
I would heavily recommend DreamHack. They're doing like great things and restoring a lot of that gaming, like community gaming feel. So like if you ever have the chance, go to a DreamHack. The first ever DreamHack I went to was just like, it blew my mind. And it wasn't even anything comparable to what DreamHack is today.
Do they have any around here, or is it
Usually it's like West Coast. Atlanta's a popular place for it. And they choose different cities in California every once in a while. They have had them in Dallas, but I think they're straying away from Dallas. So it's usually like West Coast and then Atlanta. And they host, DreamHack is like a really big product in the EU too. So if you want to do some abroad travel, I've no testament. I've never been to an EU DreamHack. So I would just recommend DreamHack as a whole because it's a great, like, everyone there is there to be a gamer. So it's like, it's a great place to kind of get immersed in the community and meet other people who are there to also just do cool things and play games.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go there as Geekwave,
Represent, yeah.
Record some content like we did at FanX. Ooh, that was fun. Sorry, just a few more questions. Just going through my notes here. Being professional this time. I just coming up on the fly. Do you guys have any advice for people who want to get into esports or potentially start their own organization? Like maybe they want to be the next SSG, the next Optic, maybe the next C9. I don't know. No, I'm kidding about that last part. But yeah, basically people that like want to get into it more, compete, or start their own organization.
I always have controversial answers to this one. In the current climate of things, probably don't. My second advice is if you want to get involved with events and broadcasts and stuff, get good shoes. My third piece of advice is if you want to start your own team, just know that it's going to be living hell for 2 years. Usually if you can get through 2 years and you find some good sponsors to connect to, you'll probably start broaching into like the tier 3 spaces. And from there, it's like a very, very slow uphill battle pretty much at all times, especially if you're not someone that's familiar with seeking VC funding, or if you want to like bootstrap it. Like think about where Space Station Gaming is now compared to even like 2 years ago. Space Station Gaming is something very homegrown and that has had a lot of money spent on it to make it sure that it's where it is today. Like it's definitely not like we're in Space Station Gaming to make money thing. So you definitely have to be in it to be in it and for the love of it. And good luck to you. I don't think right now is a great time to do it. Obviously, the mindset, if you're a player, is very different. If you think you have the gall to do it, absolutely go for it. Being a player is like not a long-term sustainable thing. So always have like a fallback, streaming, content creation, or even just returning to, going back to school, playing collegiate while you get a degree. That's a very common thing now, is obviously like people climbing up through collegiate and then like, oh, I'll use collegiate as a path to pro. my biggest advice there is don't buy into that. It's a lie. There's like 3 players ever across all titles that have gone from collegiate to pro, and they're all from Maryville. If you have what it takes to be pro, do it early in your life. Obviously, don't like drop out of high school to be an esports pro.
Don't do that.
At least finish high school, do your thing, have a great career. Like, who knows? It builds a brand. You become the next Shroud. You're streaming, right? Great. You don't need to go back to school. But if that doesn't work out for you, right, then you go back to collegiate. You still have that skill. Get a scholarship to play in collegiate esports, and then start your career path. That's my take on it.
I think definitely like dipping your toes into the industry on the community side of it is definitely a great way to start. Like if you and like your homies want to like climb that ladder, like Liam was saying, I'd say, yeah, start there. If you're doing something more on like the management side of things, manage that community team. Organize community events in your local area. I think starting at that level will give you a kind of a pseudo taste of what it's like. And so then you'll be able to determine whether or not you actually want to. But it is definitely like an industry that's just exponentially growing, I think, in popularity. And so it is going to be highly competitive no matter what area of whether you're starting an org or you want to be the pro player. It will always be incredibly competitive. So I think having having that knowledge and not kidding yourself about that is super, super important to keep yourself grounded. And I completely agree with everything that Liam said, and I think that this honestly goes for a lot of industries and especially a lot of the more competitive industries, always have a backup plan. Don't sink all of your coin into just this one thing. But outside of that, learn how to edit, learn how to film, learn how to take photos, and especially gamers. If you want to do the org thing, if you want to do the management side, if you want to do the content creation side, even as a pro player, learn how to talk to people. Because I think a huge aspect of, and you know, not to stereotype really, but there's a stereotype about gamers for a reason. Yeah, I know. But maybe go out and leave your house, get to know people, and esports industry is no different from a lot of other industries where a big aspect of it is who you know, and in combination of what you know, right? But make those connections, make those friendships, go to the LANs, make those friends that Liam was talking about at the LAN, and I think just learn how to talk to people. I think, and all of those other skills as well, I think would give you the best advantage when entering into that industry. Yeah,
I think if at the end of that spiel, if you're still interested in getting involved as a player, a production person, an events person, whatever it may be, if you want to be in this space, this is a challenge I give to a lot of people who tell me, I still want to do it after that piece of advice, which more power to you, first of all. Like you're in the right mindset, right? Don't let people tell you no. Obviously, there's certain no's that are valid, but anyway. If at the end of all this, you feel like you still want to get into esports, start connecting with people similar to learning how to watch esports, right? Just start connecting with people. Like go on LinkedIn, go on Twitter. Esports lives on Twitter. You can find you can just find just about anyone who works on esports on Twitter. Love that everyone puts the @ in the bios. It makes it really easy to identify who to talk to. But anyway, just go to the community, find a game or something, whatever area you're interested in getting in, and just start connecting with people. Learn the power of cold calling. So many people are afraid to even start the conversation. And just like this room, it's super easy to have these really insightful conversations when you just get someone talking. And a lot of people in esports love talking about their journey because we've all been through some shit. So just connect with people and genuinely don't do it in a way that's like, I want to work for you. Do it in a way that's like, hey man, I love everything you're doing. I just want to hear about how you got here today. And let them tell their story. Like, people love talking about themselves. Let them tell their story. Ask questions. Stay involved. And this is the hardest part of this all, is ask or maybe propose solutions to problems they talk about, right? If I have a talk, like I've had several talks where people are like, hey, I'm interested in getting into esports. And we have very similar conversations where I tell my story, they tell their story, what they want to do. And I tell them about something and they're like, well, have you considered this? And I'm like, well, damn, actually, I haven't.
That's a really good point.
maybe let's talk about this more. Like, that's the most challenging thing. And even if you don't get to that point where you can like propose a solution or something to someone, as long as they understand that you have a good mindset about you and like you're sociable, like that will get you miles in this industry. And if you just go start doing that, even if you start with just one person a month, like ramp it up. Next month, do 2. Next month, do 3. Like they're 30-minute calls, like pack your weekends with them, whatever. The more people you end up knowing in esports, like I have seen incredibly talented people who are able to go to people and be like, well, have you thought about this? Like, you know, like I'm just a freelancer, but like, hey, what about this? And they end up getting work from those people because it's like just something as simple as like, oh, well, have you just thought about using the shipping company or something? Like it's just insane how far you can go by genuinely caring about what people are doing in this space and being able to provide value in your own way. It's insane. So like just go out there, start connecting with people, start with one a month. And that's all it takes.
Yeah, that's kind of funny that you mentioned that because that's a lot how the games industry is like video game design and making video games because that's my major and they've been telling us just, you know, connect with people, go to GDC, Game Developer Conference, actually socialize, which for us, kind of hard. I mean, I yap too much, so I have a different problem. But so that's beside the point. Yeah, just like make connections, reach out to people, talk about stuff, and just, yeah, like you said, Liam, just develop that genuine connection. Also, now that you mentioned that, I may have to update my Twitter. Grim Dagger on Twitter, by the way, shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Very shameless. It's my show. I can do what I want.
Hey, run it.
Exactly. Liam, did you have any more questions? Because I got one left.
No, not for me. But yeah, I just really appreciate the answers. Yeah, just get out there, talk to people, make connections. Yeah.
That's esports was built on the back of dreams and hopes and people just like existing and gaming together. And like it will never change that that's how it started. And it will never change that you can continue to make a future in this space by doing just that.
Oh, yeah.
Still love those texts though. Hey bro, you trying to like team or something? You want to go to the event? Those kind of
dude, get on.
Yeah.
An hour later, they'll get on. Be like, yeah, I'll be on in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm that guy.
Oh no.
Yeah. Listen, as I told him, I was cooking. I may have burned something, so it might take a little bit longer. Yeah. The chicken breast, man. Oh.
Quick aside, sorry. That just made me. I had a roommate all the time. And everyone's like, "Hey, this is starting like 5-10 minutes speed." Or it's like, "All right, I'm just gonna fit in a quick game of League." It's like always like he's always.
Yeah.
Never trust that guy. I have some friends that are like, speaking of like, we were talking about like hating the game, loving the game.
Yeah.
I have friends like, yeah, League has consumed my life, and like, I hate this game. It's like, get off. No. What? Do you hate the game or do you like the game? Like, come on, man.
It's like, if you hate it that much, just uninstall. It's like, no, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You don't get it. It's fine. You don't get it.
understand the grind. You don't understand me, Mom. It's not just a thing. Anyway, got one last final question here, and it's kind of wrapping this all up into a nice little bow, nice little cherry on top is simply, why should people care about space station gaming and esports as a whole, in your opinion?
Well, esports as a whole, because it's cool. Everyone enjoys it. And I think that there's a huge culture, especially in our younger generation, around gaming. And you should care because I think it's an important media that's going to be pretty prevalent in the future. And as for space station and space station gaming as a whole, you should care. One, because we're here local in Utah. No one else is really doing it like us here in Utah. Whether you're a fan of the A for Adley brand or the Best Day Ever brand from Shonduras or Space Station Gaming, we have so much to offer. And I think that there's very few people that are doing it like the Space Station. And so getting to engage with the Space Station is always a treat, no matter what brand it is, because there's so many talented and passionate individuals at that company who are truthfully like doing miracle work in terms of like making progression in their respective fields and what their department does.
The Space Station, it runs on passion. For sure. And everyone who works there loves to be there and they want to see the successes of it. And I think that alone makes us incredibly special. It's not a like soulless big corporation. There's a lot of heart at the space station for sure.
It's homegrown. Like I said, it's homegrown.
Oh yeah.
There's not a single outside person that has like, I mean, granted, there's, people that get equity through being involved with the company, but there's not people who are paying to like be a VC investor at the space station. It's homegrown. Like that is about as Utah as it can get. The dude who owns everything at the space station was born and raised in Layton. Like it's just about as local homegrown as you can get.
And I think you should care about space station. And your broader question of caring about esports is that I think that some of the most integral and the tightest relationships that I think, especially now, that people formed was through games. I mean, you look at the uptick in games during COVID. I think a lot of people can relate to this when I say that games kind of kept a lot of friendships alive during COVID. And so that was kind of the only way to hang out, quote unquote, air quote, with your friends. And there's a lot of opportunity within esports to make more friends in that same way. And it's so easy to, like I said, when are you going to be on? In an hour, right? You know what I mean? So you can always kind of depend on that interaction with your friends to be there where somebody, moves away. They go off to college in a different state, but you'll always have that.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% that gaming definitely helps create that bond, and gaming naturally leads to esports. Funny thing you were mentioning about during COVID, that's how I get most of my friendships are. We play R6 6 hours a day. My whole family is man, I can't hang out with people. I don't know what to do. But Eric's got his community. He's doing what he's doing.
There you go.
And then I'm screaming bro, he's one shot. He's
I swear.
The site. He's on the site. Get him. Crease his J. Or something like that.
He was not one shot.
Yeah, he was not in fact one shot.
I mean, in R6, you're always one shot if you hit the head, but...
True. I mean, I put way too much faith in my friends. I just gotta tell them when they're one shot when they're actually one shot. I'm kidding. Love you guys, yeah. And another thing too, you mentioned college. One of my good buddies, I've known him for 8 years now.
Yeah.
He's from Australia. I've never met him, but through thick and thin, super well. He's planning to come visit soon, and just gaming really creates those bonds with people you would have normally never met otherwise, or been friends with otherwise. A really special thing. And I remember, I think Golden Boy, favorite caster by the way, that man is a national treasure. He was talking about one of his favorite HCS moments was getting all of his friends together.
Yeah.
Just chilling at Raleigh, getting to watch their favorite players again and just bonding over esports. So I feel in that way, grab all your gaming buddies, get into esports too. Oh, you'll have memories for decades and you'll see each other again, randomly out of a blue moon, just you'll pick up right where you left off.
That's how I got started in production. I met Sam on the internet. I said, hey, let's make a company together. Here I am today.
The classic, I bet.
Yeah, there you go. And now look at you. Now look at you too.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like I've been yapping too much. Should probably end there. A bit long, but thank you to you guys for joining me, specifically Helen and Liam. Thank you so much for taking the time of your day to come join us. For sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you, Liam, of course, for being my new co-host. My other one's kind of left. I'm kidding. They're just busy today. Yeah, but thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
Thank you to you guys for joining us and just giving that little insight into space station gaming and esports as a whole. Really appreciate it. Yep. As for everyone at home, thank you so much for listening. Thank you once again, and as always, go Utes and space station gaming.
Thank you.
Love repping the merch. Great merch, by the way. All right. Thank you for listening, everyone, and have a good one. Peace.